Yeah, it may seem a little random for me to suddenly return to talking about an episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, but I think that there are subjects I need to discuss in order for me to process recent events in my life. So, time to pony up.
Yay, ponies! What episode are you going to talk about, Maddie?
Well, I thought we'd take a look at an episode from season 2, Sisterhooves Social.
Yay, the Rarity episode!
Yeah, more specifically an episode about sisters.
Happy to listen. I'll be the best listener ever.
That's good, because I have a lot to say about this. As siblings grow, they go through cycles of friendship and rivalry. Often, life experiences collide, and though both may go through the same life-changing events, both siblings are, in spite of the similarities, going to react to the same events in different ways. Usually, siblings grow up together, facilitating the development of an emotional bond, but with Rarity and Sweetie Belle, there's an age gap, as well as a personality clash, and a bond doesn't seem to be there as much as you would expect it to be. In fact, you could go as far as to imply that there's a level of indifference between her and her sister, something this episode addresses and repairs by the end. This is MLP after all. Though I do wonder if this episode also serves as somewhat of a meaningful interlude from the rest of MLP's main cast. This is the first episode of the show where Twilight Sparkle doesn't appear and is never mentioned, allowing the supporting cast some much needed development and giving the audience a little respite from the more dramatic stories. The episode starts with Sweetie Belle, Rarity's little sister, being excited to spend time with her older sister, and she wants to surprise her with breakfast in bed. As the younger sibling, I can see why Sweetie Belle is enthusiastic to have the chance to spend quality time with her sister, because it gives her a chance to grow without her parents being present, and the older sibling will often feel like a third parent, often being forced to take care of the younger sibling in spite of wanting to have a distance between them. Older siblings have a role of leadership and authority over their younger siblings, usually, and can either be overly protective or dramatically dismissive. Rarity is a creative soul, but she also seeks out order and structure. Her life is centered around achievement and accomplishment. The younger sibling often feels disadvantaged compared to their older sibling, seen as less capable or inexperienced, so they are often indulged and even spoiled, at least in the eyes of the older sibling. Case in point, when their parents praise Sweetie Belle for making breakfast on her own in spite of burning everything. Though I don't think Sweetie Belle is spoiled, I do see, as the youngest sibling myself, that it is often that younger siblings try to engage in behavior where they want to show appreciation for the older sibling before learning basic life skills like cooking and cleaning. They want to learn, so offer to help where and when they can. Sweetie Belle wants to help and feel needed, but more importantly, she wants to spend time with her sister, which Rarity is reluctant to do in this episode. Sweetie Belle attempts to make Rarity breakfast in bed, but instead she burns everything. I can relate. I am a terrible cook. I'd find a way to burn cereal. Rarity makes a proper breakfast and doesn't let Sweetie Belle help her. Well, I can relate to this a lot too. Older siblings in my experience do have a habit of taking over or doing everything themselves, refusing help, or giving the younger sibling the boring mundane tasks. Or, when a younger sibling asks for help to be shown how to do something, the older sibling just does it for them, resulting in the younger sibling learning nothing and then becoming bored. Sweetie Belle tries to keep herself out of trouble by making a drawing for Rarity, because no one ever got in trouble for drawing, right? Said no artist ever. She used some gems Rarity needed for an important client, so instead of being in the moment and recognizing Sweetie Belle was expressing how much she loved her sister, Rarity was more concerned about the problems that will occur in her business as a result, making Sweetie Belle regret expressing her creativity at all. So, to make up for it, Sweetie Belle decides to help Rarity by tidying up her craft room for her, or her inspiration room as Rarity calls it, hoping that will solve the problem she caused by using the rare blue gems in her picture. But Rarity instead snaps, stating that it was her mess in her home and that Sweetie Belle had no right touching her things. I know a lot of people thought the scene where Rarity was angry that Sweetie Belle tidied her room was out of character or seemed silly, but let me put it to you this way. Rarity is a creative soul, and creativity can seem messy and disorganized during the process, especially to someone on the outside looking in. While Rarity does like to keep things organized, to me it's more from the standpoint of making sure she has easy access to everything she needs when the time comes to it, rather than an OCD level of tidiness. is not so much of a tidiness in the sense of aesthetically pleasing level of tidiness, but more on the level of tidiness that is productive when it comes to the creative process, which to an outsider can seem very chaotic. For example, if she was in the middle of a project here, everything here seems like it's all over the place, but to her, it's there for a reason. To me, Rarity is very territorial when it comes to her sewing room or inspiration room, and as a creative soul, I completely understand that. But I also understand how an older sibling wants to have their own space, and when a younger sibling enters without permission, it can feel like an invasion. When we create, we often enter into a zone of security, or a place where we can replenish our diminishing confidence and self-esteem. So when that zone is interrupted, it can feel that our one source of recuperation is invaded and being threatened or at risk of being taken away from us. I think this is what Sweetie Belle's presence was doing to Rarity, and is why Rarity was reluctant to spend any time with her sister, in spite Sweetie Belle trying so hard to get her attention and approval. Though Sweetie Belle had good intentions, to me she's still learning boundaries when it comes to Rarity's home, which Rarity didn't make clear from the beginning, so this sort of conflict was inevitable. Younger siblings look up to older siblings because to them, the older sibling sets an example for them and a prospect of who they will be like when they grow older. Sweetie Belle is portrayed more as simply wanting to do something nice for her sister here, but her good intentions fall flat and is seen as an annoyance and inconvenience. It's not so much don't touch my stuff, but more about interrupting a creative process, which to a creative soul like Rarity will feel disastrous. Though for Rarity to put her creative process and schedule ahead of spending time with her sister, it does make me realize that there were times when I also put my own creativity ahead of spending time with my own sister, something I do deeply regret. Sweetie Belle sees Rarity not just as an older sister, but as a role model. When Sweetie Belle sees how Applebloom and Applejack interact, she grows jealous of their unique connection. The difference though is that Applejack serves as more than a sister to Applebloom, she also serves as a guardian. Applebloom and Applejack have their own conflicts as well, but to show a conflict between them in this episode would draw attention away from the conflict between Rarity and Sweetie Belle. Rarity makes it clear that Sweetie Belle is being an inconvenience on her schedule, and in spite of Sweetie Belle being more than willing to help and spend time with Rarity, she ends up being ignored, or when she is given a task, Rarity puts far too much pressure on her, causing her to screw up. I can fully relate to this though. Being the younger sibling, I was often told to give my sister some space, or if I was given a task, it had to be done in a very specific way, and I always somehow managed to find a way to screw it up. So I can completely relate to Sweetie Belle and how she feels in this episode. And also, while re-watching this episode of MLP and looking at the dynamic between Rarity and Sweetie Belle, it also made me think of an episode from my favorite anime, Fruitsbasket. Indulge me for a moment, guys. I want to talk about the brothers Ayame and Yuki, because their dynamic is so similar to how my own was with my sister. She was always more confident, to the point of it being obnoxious to me, or almost like a performance, almost inauthentic in a way, which made me feel inadequate when it came to social events. So I would shy away and let her do all the talking. Though Fruitsbasket shows Yuki and Ayame to be opposites in every way, I really do admire how hard Ayame, the older brother, tries to make up for lost time, and how he wants to be there for his little brother. It's interesting to see how similar Ayame is to Rarity, as they are both extravagant, flamboyant, and often give incredibly hammy declarations of regret or devotion. They both want to create something tangible, to feel like they have added something worthwhile to the world. I mean, it's done in a comedic way, but it still serves a purpose here, in both shows. Sometimes older siblings do show a lack of interest to their younger sibling. Like Ayame, they can be emotionally distant and callous, often barely acknowledging their younger sibling when they come to them for advice or help on an issue they feel they can't go to friends or parents about. Though younger siblings do also have a tendency to disrespect their older sibling and not take their life experience into account, there is a lot of give and take when it comes to the sibling dynamic. Ayame deeply regrets how he treated his brother when they were younger, and though he's far behind in emotional intelligence compared to his younger brother, he recognizes the failings within himself and is trying to improve. Rarity and Ayame have a lot in common in that regard. In order for any relationship to work, both parties must put effort into the relationship and appreciate the results. So often, when we lose an authoritative figure in our lives, a mentor, or indeed a sibling, we do go searching for a new one, or for a relationship with a similar dynamic, which Sweetie Belle does in this episode. Rarity repeatedly showed indifference towards Sweetie Belle, so when Sweetie Belle did the same back to her, Rarity was at first relieved to have her little sister out from under her feet, but slowly began to regret how she had been treating her sister, especially when Sweetie Belle decided that Applejack was going to be her new bigger sister. To me, Sweetie Belle wasn't trying to disown Rarity, she simply wished to have a similar relationship with her that Apple Bloom had with Applejack. So when Rarity said the idea of doing the Sisterhooves Social, an event that was purely for sisters, was a terrible idea, it made Sweetie Belle think Rarity wasn't interested in being sisters at all, and then they both disowned each other. I'm glad that Rarity made the effort to reconcile with her sister in the end, with actually running with her during the Sisterhooves Social. Nothing is more important than family, and it's important to find a balance when it comes to spending time with family when you have a long to-do list of projects. Myself and my sister only had 2-year age difference. We were like chalk and cheese, or oil and water. My sister was far from perfect, and I definitely don't consider her a saint, but no one deserves to suffer how she did. I'm happy that she is no longer in pain, and that we did reconcile before she passed on. Though it may have seemed strange that talking about an episode of My Little Pony of all things helped me grieve over the death of my sister a little after a short battle against bowel cancer, it's more about coming to terms with how much we did love each other in spite of our differences. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is founded on the sister dynamic and how a younger sibling can feel overshadowed by their older sister. But I appreciate that this show didn't show either sibling as evil necessarily, just that their focus was in the wrong place. Now it's getting me thinking I should make a video about the royal sisters, Celestia and Luna. Maybe. I'll think about it. When you lose a sibling, your role in your family changes. I don't have younger siblings, but I do have friends who I consider to be like siblings, and I guess, in a way, we are also siblings, Mary.
Best sister ever. What?
Nothing. I'm Mad Munchkin. Stay creative.